Check out FlipsideGaming.com for all your gaming needs. Use the promo code HEROES to save 10% on all orders over $10. From July 4th through August 26th, if you use this promo code, you will automatically be entered into a drawing to win a set of all 4 Commander 2019 decks. Also, there is another way to enter where no purchase is necessary. See the description below for full details. Hey there, this is John from Heroes and Legends, and welcome to another edition of the Magic the Gathering Market Watch, where today we're going to explore all aspects of the secondary market. It is Gen Con weekend, so Commander 2019 previews have been occurring. We've been covering them on the channel. As you can imagine, there are some card prices moving because of those previews. Also, last weekend was Mythic Championship IV. That was a modern event, so you are still seeing some card prices moving because of the results of that event too, and a whole lot more is going on. We're going to dig into all of it. Quickly before we get started though, if you haven't pre-ordered Commander 2019 decks yet, check out FlipsideGaming.com. They do have all 4 of them together as a group there, and if you use the Heroes promo code, you can pick them up for $126 and free shipping, and of course that also supports the channel. So with that out of the way, let's get into it. We'll begin, as we always do, with the top 5 standard legal cards that have lost value this week. I do have 2 honorable mentions though. The first one is a Johnny, Adversary of Tyrants, down $1.20 to $6.64. You're going to see a lot of this on the list this week and probably for weeks to come. Many of the cards that are rotating out that aren't seeing as much standard play right now, they're losing value. Even some that are seeing a lot of standard play are losing value. Standard players are getting ready for the future, selling off the cards before they completely lose value, and that's why you're seeing these drops. This card is seeing some standard play, sometimes in feather decks, and when you do run into Mono White aggro or Azorius aggro, typically these are in the sideboard, but you don't see a lot of those decks right now in the meta. Here's our second honorable mention, another card rotating out this fall, Karn, Scion of Urza, down $1.36 to $12.68. Now, this card isn't doing a whole lot in standard either right now, actually less than the previous card, but it is doing a lot more in other formats. Modern, you'll find this in some Mono Blue Tron builds. Also, this is in Eldrazi and Texas, typically in the sideboard. Legacy, though, is where this really shines. 12 Post will play this Mono Blue Urza, sometimes Bomberman. Vintage, you'll find this in Karn shops and Mono Black Artifacts, too. This card will lose value as it gets closer to rotation, but it won't lose all its value because of what it does in those formats. Alright, number 5, Leyline of Sanctity. This is the one from Magic 2011, down $1.39 to $13.14. Of course, this was just reprinted in Core Set 2020, which is why this is standard legal. Although, it's not seeing a ton of standard play. Once in a while, you'll find it here or there in a sideboard. For the most part, though, this is big and modern. Many sideboards will use this against burn, mill, or other discard effects. Number 4 is Nicol Bolas the Ravager, down $1.45 to $16.65, and it's going to continue to go down because this card doesn't do a whole lot outside of standard. It has seen a little fringe play here or there. In standard right now, the Grixis control deck isn't really doing all that well either in the current meta. And again, this is another card that's going to rotate out, so I would expect it to lose a lot more value quickly. Commander players, I'd wait a little bit. If you want a copy, you'll be able to get it cheaper maybe in a few weeks. Number 3 is Crucible of Worlds. 3 copies here. Magic 2019 going down $1.11 to $26.90. 10th edition going down $1.28 to $30.95. 5th Dawn down $1.77 to $32.07. Now this is another card that isn't lighting up standard and really never found a home in standard, and I don't think that's going to change in the short time that it's going to still be there. However, of course, this is Crucible of Worlds. It's good in other formats. Many of the competitive formats still only run like a copy in the sideboard and or a copy in the main. Some decks will run it a little heavier, but between that and the casual play it sees, the commander play, the cube play, the card usually can hold its price pretty well, although as we get closer to standard rotation, I do think people will continue to sell these off. Modern, you can find this in Eldrazi Tron builds, Mono Blue Tron, Simic Whir, Urza Thopter Sword, in Legacy, sometimes in Golgari Depths, Vintage Karn shops, and also other decks in those formats. Number 2, Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, goes down $2.47 to $29.92. So there's a couple things going on with this card. The first one is it is closing in on standard rotation, so no surprise there that it will lose value, and it will lose more value before it does stabilize. It is still good in standard this season. Esper Tempo is still a very good deck. You'll also find this in Jeskai Super Friends. Modern control builds are still using this as well. However, the other thing happening with this card is Teferi Time Raveler is moving in a little bit on this card's territory, especially when it comes to Modern. Number 1 is Leyline of the Void from Guild Pack, down $2.67 to $40.50. If you watched the Mythic Championship this weekend, you know that this was the most played Modern card in the entire event. That, of course, is because of all the graveyard shenanigans in the format right now. You got Hogak decks out there, you got Classic Dredge, you got the Phoenix decks. So there's a lot of decks playing this out of sideboards. There's some just main decking it flat out right now. Now, with that being said, this particular copy of the card, being the original, has a high price point, so it is coming down a little bit this week, but stay tuned, more on this one to come. Alright, let's move on to the top 5 core set 2020 cards not in booster packs that have gained value this week. These are cards you'll find in the Spellslinger starter kit, or in the Planeswalker decks, or in the welcome decks that go out to new players from game stores. The reason some of these are overpriced and do not pay these type of prices, let me say that right off the bat, is because there's not a lot of copies necessarily on sale online at any given time. These are not rare cards, but there's not a lot of people breaking up these decks to sell them. So because of that, if people decide to charge high prices, it really can inflate the price quickly on some of these commons that see little or no play. Now, there are some cards that have some new art that look cool. There are some cards that are not commons. We're going to look at a rare here too. But ultimately, the moral of the story here is don't overpay, shop around, wait for the hype to subside if you do want to collect any of these. Okay, a couple cards going down in value first though. Immortal Phoenix, this is actually a rare. It goes down $1.14 to $6.64. Not a card that sees play in standard or anything like that, but these are all technically standard legal. Now, you can find one copy of this in the Spellslinger starter kit, and this is the first time you can actually get this card in a non-foil version if you wanted it for some reason, because when it came out in the gift pack for Magic 2019, it was only in foil. The second card going down in value, Coral Merfolk, this goes down $1.25 to 23 cents. Okay, that's more like it. There are 2 copies of this in the blue welcome deck, and this is brand new art. Okay, one honorable mention, then we'll get to our top 5. Walking Corpse goes up 81 cents to $1. You can find 3 copies of this in the black welcome deck. Number 5, Bristling Boar. You'll find 1 copy of this in the green welcome deck. Goes up 91 cents to $1.15. Number 4, Phantom Warrior. This has new art, and you can find 1 copy of this in the blue welcome deck. It goes up 92 cents to $4.23. Number 3, Skeleton Archer. Goes up $1 to $2.99. You can find 1 copy of this in the black welcome deck. Number 2, Rubble Belt Recluse, up $1.08 to $2.98. 1 copy of this is in the red welcome deck. And number 1, Prized Unicorn, brand new art on this one, goes up $1.51 to $2.95. You can find 1 copy of this in the green welcome deck. Okay, let's go on to the top 5 standard legal cards that have gained value this week. I do have 3 honorable mentions this week. The first one is Shifting Ceratops of 58 cents to $4.99. This is a fantastic sideboard card right now in standard. You're going to find this in Bant Scapeshift, Bant Ramp, Simic Nexus, Simic and Sultai Flash, Temur Elementals, Nexus Elementals, Bant Midrange, and more. Also, the Jund Dinosaur deck plays this in the main typically. Second honorable mention is Field of the Dead, up 66 cents to $3.92. Of course, this is part of the Bant Scapeshift deck, which is doing really well right now in the current meta, and of course got a lot of attention for winning the GP a couple weeks back. Now, there's also some variations on that deck running this card in standard as well. Modern, this is showing up in some Titan Shift decks now, and even in Legacy, you'll find this in some land builds. Our third honorable mention is Yarok the Desecrated, up 76 cents to $13.94. This sees a little bit of standard play, not a whole lot right now, but just a little bit. That's not the reason it cost almost $14, though. The reason is Commander. This has been a great Commander card. A lot of folks have built around this, or they just threw it in Muldrotha. However, there is a Commander 2019 preview from a couple days ago that has people interested maybe in picking this up if they already didn't. That is Kadena Slinking Sorcerer. They share colors, and this will work pretty well with Yarok. Number 5 is Breeding Pool from Gatecrash, up 92 cents to $16.33. This is the land that won't go away. It feels like it's on the list every week, and that's because it's playing a huge role right now in Standard. Bant Scapeshift, Simic Nexus, Bant and Temur Ramp, Simic Flash, Bant Midrange. These are all very popular decks right now, and they all use this land. In Modern, it's in some popular decks too, like Neobrand, Infect, Snowshift, and Bant Spirits. Number 4 is Arclight Phoenix. This goes up $1.03 to $21.13. Now, this is still seeing some standard play in Izzet Phoenix builds. They can hang around and still put up a good result here or there, but really, the card is moving because of Modern. It had another great weekend. Actually, Izzet Phoenix, Mono Red Phoenix, and now Gruul Phoenix are all performing very well in the Modern format. Although, surprisingly, in some ways, Mono Red or Gruul have been a little bit better recently. We'll have to see if that maintains. Number 3, Hallowed Fountain, up $1.72 to $25.84. Another very popular shockland here in a lot of standard decks. Bant Scapeshift, Desperate Tempo, Bant Ramp, and more. Modern, you'll find this in Azorius and Jeskai Control, Urza Thopter Sword, and other decks there too. Number 2, this card looks familiar, Leyline of the Void. The other 2 copies, Magic 2011 going up 82 cents to $29.15. Magic 2020 going up $1.76 to $16.99. Okay, so I mentioned that this card was seeing a ton of play in the Mythic Championship last weekend. And yes, this is in Core Set 2020. Tons of packs are being opened. This is a rare, it's not a Mythic. There's a lot of new copies in the marketplace, but even so, the demand is so high that it's pulling the price of these cards up, even if it is just a little bit. The Guild Pact one going down. There's a big difference in prices between these and that particular variant. And I do expect these to probably calm down within another week or two once we get past Mythic Championship and everything settles down. Also, the market will start to adjust around all the new copies. Number 1 is Scape Shift up 288 to 2349. This is the one for Morningtide. So we were talking about the banned Scape Shift deck earlier. And yeah, that's a very popular deck in Standard as well as variations of that deck. We know this is also good in Modern. It's in Titan Shift, Titan Breach, and Snow Shift. Alright, speaking of Modern, let's talk about the top 5 Modern legal cards that have lost value this week. One honorable mention first, though. Hex Drinker goes down $1.70 to $15.95. Not too surprising. There's a number of Modern Horizons cards that people were kind of scrambling for to get them into their builds, and they would pay basically whatever they needed to pay at that moment to get that to happen, especially if they had a tournament coming up. But now things are calming down, there's more quantities getting out there, so some of them are stabilizing a little bit, even if they do see play. This one sees play in the Rock, and also some Hogak decks will run this too. Shows up in a few other places as well. Number 5 is another card kind of doing the same thing, Seasoned Pyromancer. It goes down $1.84 to $25.96. Both of these are mythics actually from the set. This one sees play in Jund, Hollowed One, Mardu Pyromancer, and more. Number 4, third verse, same as the first. The first Sliver goes down $1.95 to $14.43. So this one is a little different. You're not seeing this in a lot of big Modern builds or anything like that. But this is a great casual card, great commander card for Sliver Tribal. There's a lot of folks that would like to pick this up. It does soften up a little bit this week. Number 3 is Ether Vial from Iconic Masters. It goes down $2.09 to $42.89. This is just kind of normal price adjustment. This is still seeing a ton of play, and recently this card had been climbing, so not too weird to see it retract just a little bit. You're going to find this in Humans, Spirit Builds, Orzhov Eldrazi, Merfolk, Mono White Blank, Goblins, and more. Also, Legacy Death and Taxes runs this. Number 2, the Sliver hype continues to die down a little bit. Sliver Hive Lord goes down $2.70 to $35. Number 1 is Jace the Mind Sculptor. Eternal Master is down $1.72 to $129.99. World Wake down $10.85 to $131.37. Not too surprising. This card has been climbing. It was due for a little normalization. That's what you're seeing here. World Wake lost a lot of value, but it did get really high for a short period of time. With that being said, Jace isn't going anywhere. Modern Control builds will run this. Sometimes Snow Shift will run this too. You'll find this in Blue Moon, Legacy, Miracles, Grixis Control, Azorius Stoneblade, 4-color Leovold, Vintage, sometimes Sultai Midrange. Commander players want this, Oathbreaker players want this. Yeah, Jace is always going to be expensive. Okay, let's move on to the top 5 Modern legal cards that have gained value this week. One honorable mention, I had to talk about Wrenn and 6, up $3.76 to $89.97. This card is just out of control. And it just had a huge weekend at Mythic Championship, as well as the Star City Games events recently. You can find this in Jund. Some Titan Breach builds will use this. Legacy, though, is where this card really shines. 4-color Delver, Lands, 4-color Loam, 4-color Leovold, and more. Number 5, Mox Opal from Modern Masters 2015 goes up $3.81 to $104.05. Haven't seen this card on the list for a while, but nothing like a big Modern tournament to bring it back out again. This is in a lot of huge decks. Urzathopter Sword, Hardened Scales, the regular version of Affinity, Simic Whir, SRAM O's. Legacy, you'll find this in Grixis Storm, Bomberman, and more. Yeah, I do think this will calm down. I do think $104, $105 is kind of the ceiling for the card, but I don't think it goes down that much. I think the card will sit around $100 until it finally sees a reprint. Number 4, Sword of Feast and Famine, but this one is from the Modern event deck. It goes up $3.86 to $44.99. This copy's a little bit harder to find, which might be why it's going up in value this week. Now, this card does see a little Legacy play. Sometimes it's in Azorius Stoneblade, but really this is more of a commander card than anything. Also, I do think there's more interest on the swords because of the new ones for Modern Horizons, just got people thinking about them again. Number 3, it's a Lorwyn rare. Knucklebone Witch goes up $4.16 to $5.99. I'm going to use my one per video and get it out of the way early. So cards from this time period of Magic did have a lower print run compared to other modern era Magic cards. So when there's interest in one of them, they tend to spike sometimes, and that's what you're seeing here. So what is causing this? Rakdos Goblin builds, actually, in Modern. People are using this card in some of those. Also just for Commander Goblin purposes as well. Number 2 is also a Lorwyn card and is also in the same decks I just mentioned with the previous one. It's Auntie's Hovel. It goes up $4.90 to $29.85 this week. And number 1 is Ensnaring Bridge. This is the one from 7th edition, up $5.69 to $60.28. This card's trying to find its price point. If you look at all the Ensnaring Bridges, they're kind of moving up, moving down, but they're all kind of moving around the $60 mark. This is seeing play in a lot of decks. Eldrazi Tron, for example, a lot of times you'll find one in the side there. Urzethopter Sword will run a copy in the main typically. Legacy, 3 copies in the main, 1 in the side of many Mono Red Prison builds. Vintage, Karn Shops will run 1 in the main, 1 in the side. Mono Black Artifacts, typically 1 in the side there. So you're not finding necessarily always a lot of copies in every deck, but a number of decks are running this. Okay, let's move on to the Vintage Spotlight. This is where we talk about cards that might see play in Vintage, Legacy, 93, 94, or cards that are just important to collectors. First, we have Alurin. This goes up $12.67 to $36.32. Now, this card has been on our list for a couple weeks. It is on the reserve list, and that could be part of the reason. Also, it still sees some legacy play. Alurin decks are still out there. But the reason there's been extra attention on this card has been because of a Throne of Eldraine preview that happened a couple weeks back. And this is the card here, Chulane Teller of Tales. There are a lot of Commander players looking to pick up Alurin because it has synergy with this. Next, we have a revised dual land, of course, on the reserve list. It is Tundra, going up $13.99 to $315.64. Keep an eye on these revised dual lands. They've been very hot recently. Mahamoti Jin from Unlimited goes up again, $16.45 to $114.60. Wow, breaks the $100 mark here. Mana Drain from Legends has a big week, going up $21.22 to $186. You know, this doesn't see all that much vintage play anymore, a little bit here or there, but this is a great card for Commander or other singleton formats. Alright, speaking of Commander, time for the Commander Spotlight. A lot of cards to talk about again, so I'm going to go kind of quickly. Not necessarily talk about every reason a card could be going up, but at least try to give you the main ones. Piracy goes up $1 to $14.49. This is the one from Portal Second Age. Most likely it's going up because basically these Portal Second Age cards are getting harder and harder to find in good condition. But this is actually a pretty sweet Commander card. A lot of times I see people just throw this in a pirate deck for theming purposes, but ultimately this would be good in a lot of builds. Steel Shaper's Gift. Okay, this goes up $1.02 to $10.75 this week. Now, the reason this one's going up is because MTG Goldfish did an article and a YouTube video about a budget as well as a non-budget brew of a Colossus Hammer deck in Modern. So this is part of the non-budget version of the deck, and it got a lot of attention this week, so it goes up a little bit in value. Also, if you're not trying to build a modern version of that deck, of course you can still use this with Colossus Hammer in Commander. Ragnar. Now, whenever these reserve list Legends Gold cards go up, I try to point them out. This one is still affordable, but it's going up $1.08 to $28. Scion of Una. Modern Masters goes up $1.01 to $6.66. Lorwyn goes up $1.09 to $6.75. A couple weeks ago, we found out about Throne of Eldraine. The first art we saw from Throne of Eldraine, at least in the background of the actual announcement, had fairies in it. So everybody went crazy. Fairies started going up in value. Now, Mark Rosewater has tried to quell the expectations a little bit and has said that, yes, there are fairies in the set, but not in the numbers and importance that some people are thinking. So I don't think we're going to see a lot of like tribal fairy elements in the set, but we could get some fairies and people are still interested in picking up these cards. I don't think they're bad pickups because even if we don't get a lot of fairies now in this set, you know at some point that tribe is going to be revisited. Jet Medallion. This is the one from Commander 2014. It goes up $1.12 to $13.40. Alright, so medallions have been hot, especially this one because of Yawgmoth Thran Physician recently. Now another card was previewed yesterday, which is the reason this is moving. Carrick, Son of Yawgmoth. Okay, this card is crazy. We talked about it in the preview video yesterday, so if you missed it, check it out. But there are a lot of people that are going to want to build mono black commander decks around this. And yeah, if they don't have Jet Medallion, they're going to want to pick it up pretty soon. Demonic Tutor. This is the one from Dual Decks, Divine versus Demonic. It goes up $1.13 to $33.28. Now, tutors are always hot for commander purposes. However, probably not a coincidence that this is going up since we've seen Carrick, Son of Yawgmoth. Changeling Titan. This one is another Lorwyn card, this time an uncommon, going up $1.21 to $2.90. This has been hot recently because of Morophon and also because of Bear Tribal in Commander. Omnith Locus of Mana. This goes up $1.23 to $21.93. A lot of folks are putting this in Omnith Locus of the Royal Elemental builds. Sliver Overlord, another sliver, but this one's going up in value. It goes up $1.25 to $37.13. Polluted Bonds, another black card here, but this one was already popular in Commander because of Yawgmoth recently, and also Yurok the Desecrated. This goes up $1.46 to $19.37. Royal Elemental up $1.48 to $6.34. This card's been hot because it's good in a few different builds right now. Yurok the Desecrated, Omnith Locus of the Royal, and this will also play well with Chulane Teller of Tales this fall. Lotus Cobra from Zendikar goes up $1.65 to $9.66. Everything I said about the last card, just cut and paste and put it in right here. Good with those same commanders. River Bear from Portal Second Age goes up $1.69 to $5.25. Again, probably moving this much because it is from Portal Second Age, but again, bear decks have been popular. Lady Evangela, this is another reserve list Gold Legends card. It goes up $1.72 to $35.99. Trinisphere up $1.74 to $64.47. So first off, competitively, this is a pretty good card. Sometimes you'll find it in Gruul Land Destruction and Modern, for example. Legacy, though, it really shines. Mono Red Prison, 12 Post, Mono Red Eldrazi, Vintage Revenger Shops, and more decks in those formats will play it. Commander, though, is the reason it's going up this much this week. We just saw Kadena Slinking Sorcerer a few moments ago. That whole deck called Faceless Menace revolves around Morph, Megamorph, and Manifest. This could be good in that strategy. Bitter Blossom for Modern Masters 2015 up $1.82 to $46.11. So this card does see Modern play in Smallpox decks and some other decks there. Also see some Legacy play. But again, this is moving mostly because of Commander this week as people are trying to pick up fairies because of Throne of Eldraine. Blightsteel Colossus, this is going to keep creeping up till it gets a reprint up $1.95 to $67.48. See some Vintage play, great in Commander, especially in the colorless builds. Whip Tongue Hydra up $1.99 to $4.99. So Hydras have been hot recently. They've gotten a little bit of support from the last couple sets. Modern Horizons brought us Unbound Flourishing, and then Core Set brought us Voracious Hydra, and more importantly, Gargo's Vicious Watcher. So there are some people trying to put together some Hydra builds for Commander. Gate to Phyrexia, this goes up $203 to $39.94 from Antiquities. It is on the reserve list. And this card has been hot. People have been putting it in Yawgmoth builds, but it did spike again recently when we saw Keurig, Son of Yawgmoth. Mana Crypt, the original book giveaway version, goes up $250 to $262.50. Great vintage card, great commander card. Magnetic Theft, another card featured in that Colossus Hammer build on MTG Goldfish. This goes up $268 to $864 this week. Again, even if you're not trying to build a modern deck, plays well with a lot of cards in Commander, including Colossus Hammer. Sylvan Tutor from Portal goes up $295 to $57.75. This card has been hot. I mean, tutors are hot generally. But I have noticed again, like last week, Worldly Tutor was going up. A lot of that was because of Chulane Teller of Tales. I think this card could be moving because of that card as well this week. Or it could be moving because this card is yet to be reprinted and it is getting hard to find in good condition. Aiden Oakenshield, another reserve list gold card from Legends. This goes up $298 to $70.80. Windfall up $302 to $558. So this is a great commander card. You'll find it in a number of builds. This is the Battle Royale copy though, and that's why it's going up this much this week. Looks like those particular copies dried up on the marketplace because there's just less of them. Staff of Domination from Fifth Dawn. This card remains hot. Always a good commander card. A lot of things you can do with this. It goes up $309 to $43.09. Divergent Transformations. This goes up $356 to $588. People are putting this in Kaikar commander decks right now. MTG Goldfish actually did an article recently about a budget Kaikar commander deck, which could have brought some attention on this card too. Being from Commander 2016 and not being reprinted yet, that means there's not a lot of copies out there at any given time, so just a little attention on this card could really move the price. Gwendolyn de Corsai, a lot of these reserve list Legends cards moving this week. This one goes up $401 to $105.59. Catalyst Stone goes up $473 to $1042. Okay, so one of the Commander 2019 decks is a flashback deck. It's called Mystic Intellect. And because of that, this card is very hot. Here's another card moving because of Commander 2019. This one because of the Faceless Menace deck again. Isadore Reality Sculptor. It goes up $761 this week to $972. Yet another reserveless Legends gold card, but this one is actually a good commander card. You could play this in Pillow Fort. This is Angus McKenzie. It goes up $1021 to $200. Alright, time for the Pauper Spotlight. There's a lot happening right now in Pauper. We have a number of cards to look at, but there's a few reasons the cards are moving. One reason is more people are interested in Pauper. Recently, they changed the rules so that cards that were printed only in common and paper in the past are now legal in the format, opening up some new avenues. Also, there were some bannings not too long ago, which really put the format up in the air a little more. And aside from that, there's a lot of commons that are doing well in other formats like Modern, for example, that are also crossing over into this list. So let's take a look and see what's going on. Lapse of Certainty, this goes up 10 cents to 122. You'll find this sometimes in the mono white heroic builds in Pauper. Utopia Sprawl, this is the one from Dissension. It goes up 10 cents to 433. You'll find this in hexproof builds in Pauper, but this also sees Modern play in Gruul Land Destruction and Devoted Vizier, for example. Lava Spike, 3 copies. Champions of Kamigawa up 10 cents to 344. Modern Masters up 10 cents to 391. Ultimate Masters up 11 cents to 348. This has always been a big Pauper burn card, but it's also a big burn card in Modern as well as Legacy. Also sometimes he's playing Phoenix builds in Modern too. Ash Barrens, this is a staple for the Pauper format, great in a lot of decks. This version is the one from Commander Anthology Volume 2. It goes up 12 cents to 343 this week. Spellstutter Sprite, this is the one from Modern Masters. It goes up 11 cents to 215. You'll find this in Delver builds and Control builds in Pauper. Also, there's a Fringe Legacy Ninja deck that runs this, but part of the reason it could be going up again is because it is a fairy, and Throne of Eldraine has brought a lot of attention onto those cards. Scred goes up 12 cents to 380. You'll find this in Control builds and also is a Delver, but this sees Modern play as well, which could be why it's going up this week. Priest of Titania from Commander Anthology up 13 cents to 495. This does see play in Elves builds and Pauper, but I have seen some of these early Tulane Commander deck lists, and many of them are running this card too. Okiba Gang Shinobi Betrayers of Kamigawa up 10 cents this week to 109. Plane Chase Anthology up 14 cents to 214. You'll find this in Orzhov Pestilence decks, but ninjas have been popular in Commander recently too. Arkham's Astrolabe up 15 cents to 56 cents. Now this is seeing play in Modern or as a Thopter Sword, maybe that's why it is moving this week, but it sees a lot of Pauper play already. Control builds, Tron, Boros Aggro, and more. Sinew Sliver, this is a sliver that is legal in Pauper for sliver builds. It goes up 15 cents to 444, but again, a lot of people are playing slivers right now in Commander, and that could be moving the card. Expedition Map, Zendikar up 17 cents to 489, Modern Masters 2015 up 24 cents to 503. Okay, so obviously this is probably moving because Tron had a great weekend last weekend when it comes to Modern tournaments. Tron builds play this there. Legacy Depths decks will play this as well. But in Pauper, you'll also find this in Tron decks. Chromatic Star from Time Spiral goes up 25 cents to 5.99. Okay, kind of the same story here. This is in Modern Tron as well as there's a Thopter Sword, but this does see Pauper play in Affinity builds and Tron there too. Ashnod's Altar, this recently became Pauper legal because of the change I mentioned earlier, but this is also a great Commander card. 6th edition goes up 13 cents to 6.19. 5th edition up 37 cents to 5.91. Bojuka Bog, okay, this is a card that also sees play in a lot of different places. In Pauper, you might find it in Pestilence builds or Mono Black Control or other places. There's some Modern play as well, Amulet Titan for example, some Legacy play in decks like Lands, but I think the main reason this is moving is because of Commander, and more specifically, again, because of Carrick, Son of Yawgmoth. A lot of people are thinking about Mono Black decks for Commander this week, and this card does take a pretty big bump considering all the printings it has had. Commander Anthology goes up 20 cents to 333. Commander up 24 cents to 523. Commander 2018 up 42 cents to 332. But wait, there's more. World Wake goes up 12 cents to 266. Commander 2014 up 20 cents to 275. Okay, time for the premium spotlight. I'll give my quick disclaimer here. I don't like to spend too much time on foil or premium cards because they are very hard to track online. There's not always a lot of sales data to go by. Because of that, sometimes the information could be misleading, and at times people do try to manipulate the market too. But every week I try to pick 1 or 2 cards that feel like they're moving naturally with the market. This week I chose the Odyssey foil copy of Catalyst Stone going up 447 to 2947. However, this card is really dried up on the marketplace. This data is actually about 48 hours old because I'm having a really hard time finding copies of this for sale right now. It's actually very possible that when people start listing these again, which should happen shortly, the price point might actually be higher than $29, $30. So this might be due for another spike soon. Alright, that does it for the Market Watch this week. We'll be looking at Commander 2019 cards all week. What I'm going to do on Monday, because they're going to throw about 100 cards out and there's no way I can keep up, I'm going to wait till all the cards come out. Tuesday, I'm going to do a video that will focus on one deck, whichever deck they decide to show us on Monday. And then I'm going to do that for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday as well. Saturday, we'll do another Market Watch. But until then, hey, thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and have a great day. Hey, thanks for watching. This video is made possible through the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Check out the description below for links to our Patreon page as well as our Amazon affiliate store, where a small percentage of all sales will also help support the channel. Finally, if you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the new videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon, and have a great day.